Many religious observers say Americans in 2026 are seeing a return of church attendance and growth in faith and spirituality. But actually, a Pew Research study found that these key measurements are basically holding steady in the U.S. since 2020. The shares of U.S. adults who identify with Christianity, with another religion, or with no religion have remained stable in recent years. Pew says previous long-term declines were driven largely by generational shifts. Older adults tend to be highly religious, and as they have died, they've been replaced in the population by younger people who have tended to be far less religious. Church advocates have suggested that the Gen Z generation of young adults are actually seeing a religious revival, especially young men. But the Pew study says there is really no clear evidence that this resurgence is underway. My new video report on revival in America, or a falling away. The most persistent story about religion in America came forward in 2025. This was the possibility of revival among Generational Z, who are between 14 and 29 years old in 2026. Pastor Ryan Burge, one of the foremost scholars of religious decline, has authored two notable books entitled The Dons and The Great De-Churching. He noted that with optimism concerning Gen Z, suddenly there was hope that churches might begin to fill back up in the near future. Burge said many people have prayed fervently for God to move as during the first and second Great Awakenings, when hundreds of thousands of Americans obtained miraculous conversions. But there is nothing saying that awakenings today are actually happening. The share of adults with no religious connection climbed from just 6% in 1991 to nearly 30% in 2020. So if that trend was leading to a return to church by teens and 20-somethings, those would make huge headlines. But other Pew Research studies have found there's no compelling evidence that younger Americans are more religious than their parents or grandparents. They show both the decline of Christianity and the rise of the unaffiliated have started to slow down in recent years. But the studies don't show any real resurgence in American religion because of one simple reason: generational replacement. Every day, older Americans die and are replaced by young adults turning 18. The end results unfold slowly in the short term, but over 5 to 10 years it can generate profound shifts in the overall picture. So there is hope. According to Pastor Burge, who we talked about earlier, millennials and Gen Z could find God more in the years ahead. But it would require a transformation unlike anything seen in modern times. Roughly 10 million millennials would have to reaffiliate with religion, followed by another 18 million Gen Zers. There's no sign of that happening in any dataset. Burge points out the overall difficulty in churches attracting new worshipers, that about 25% of Americans report attending a house of worship on a typical weekend. If that rose by even 3 points, that would mean 10 to 12 million more people in churches than just 6 months ago. He goes on to say there are currently 350,000 churches nationwide. Evenly distributed, those 12 million new attendees would add roughly 35 people to every congregation. With the median church in America averaging 65 attendees, each church would have to grow by nearly 50% just to move the national number by just 3 points. There are, according to Pew, some interesting things happening with religion among young people. Young men are now about as religious as women in the same age group. That has changed from the past, when young women tended to be more religious than young men. Finally, there has been a debate in the last few years on whether America is now entering a Great Awakening time again with revival, or if we're sliding more and more into a time of falling away. I don't know for sure personally. Across the New Testament, the Bible talks about the condition of the world and church before the return of Jesus Christ. Many people do expect end-time revival, but Scripture warns of something far more sobering: a global departure from truth, a religious world that speaks of spirituality but rejects Christ, and a widespread collapse of genuine faith. Jesus and his disciples described it in Scripture as the falling away, love growing cold, a form of godliness without power, false teachers denying the Lord, and lukewarm churches with Christ pushed away. Sounds a lot like today. This is H.A. Graves.